In the oldest whispers of time, the wise said that a human heart is a hidden forge, and its true shape is revealed not in comfort but in fire. Every trial, every humiliation, every quiet night of doubt is a hammer striking your soul, testing whether you will shatter or become Hagane no Ishi, a will of steel. Samurai knew this. The body can bleed, the path can darken, but the spirit that refuses to kneel becomes unbreakable. Tonight, I'm speaking to you, the one who's tired, bruised but still here. If you feel that buried ember inside, comment, "I rise" below. If you are ready to turn struggle into strength, subscribe and stand with this community of modern warriors who train their minds like blades and their hearts like armor. Thank you for walking this path with me, for not giving up on yourself even when the world tried to. This is your dojo now, your fire, your discipline, your rebirth. Unshakable will begins where comfort ends. It is not born in days when everything goes right, but in the silent hours when no one is watching, and quitting seems like the only logical choice. Think of a sword lying in raw ore beneath the earth. It has no form, no edge, no purpose. Only when it is dragged from the darkness and thrust into the furnace does it begin to transform. Your will is the same. Every setback you face is a flame meant not to destroy you, but to reveal what you are capable of enduring. The samurai understood this. Hagane no Ishi, a will of steel, is not gifted by fate. It is forged, beaten, and refined through repeated trials. When life throws you into chaos, your unshakable will is the inner voice that whispers, "Stand again." It is the decision to take one more step when your legs tremble, to breathe one more breath of courage when your chest feels hollow, to show up one more time when everything in you wants to disappear. The fire that creates unshakable will is not always dramatic. Often it is slow, boring, and brutally repetitive. Waking up early when your bed is warm, pushing through a workout when your muscles are tired, studying when your mind is distracted. These are not small acts. They are daily strikes of the hammer against the metal of your spirit. Each time you choose discipline over comfort, you are telling the universe, "I am not glass. I am steel." Samurai trained for years in the same patterns, the same swings, the same stances, not because they loved repetition, but because repetition carves strength into their bones. In your life, this means embracing routine instead of running from it, respecting small improvements instead of chasing instant transformation. Unshakable will is the result of thousands of silent victories that no one applauds, but that fundamentally change who you are. Yet, unshakable does not mean emotionless. The strongest steel bends before it breaks. The same is true for your spirit. There will be days when you feel fear, doubt, sadness, and anger. Do not mistake their presence as weakness. Samurai were not without fear. They simply refused to bow to it. Your will is not the absence of emotion, but the decision to move forward despite it. When your mind screams, "Stop, this hurts," Unshakable will reply, "I hear you, but we go on." Imagine standing in the center of a raging storm. The wind howls, rain lashes your face, and the world feels unstable. Unshakable will is the root that keeps you grounded, the anchor that holds your ship in place while the waves crash around you. You might shake, you might stumble, but you do not flee. With each storm survived, your spirit silently records, "I did not break." That memory becomes fuel the next time darkness returns. Ultimately, unshakable will is a commitment to your path, not your mood. Your feelings change by the hour, but your mission must stand beyond them, like a mountain rising above passing clouds. The samurai called this loyalty, not just to their lord, but to their code, their purpose. When you decide who you want to become and what you are willing to endure to get there, your will takes shape like a blade pulled from water, sharp and clear. You no longer ask, "Do I feel like it?" You ask, "Is this aligned with my path?" If the answer is yes, you move forward, whether tired, scared, or uncertain. Over time, people around you will notice something different. You do not flinch as easily. You do not vanish at the first sign of difficulty. You do not break when others crumble. That is unshakable will. That, loud, not flashy, but a quiet, relentless force that turns ordinary humans into living steel. Discipline over emotion is the art of choosing your path over your impulses. It is the moment you stop being a slave to every feeling that rises within you and instead become the master of your actions. Emotions are like sudden storms crossing the sky, powerful, dramatic, and temporary. Discipline is the mountain that does not move. The samurai understood this deeply. They felt fear before battle, anger at insult, sorrow at loss. Yet they did not allow those emotions to dictate their sword or their choices. In your life, this means not letting laziness decide your schedule, not allowing anger to dictate your words, and not letting fear choose your future. When you wake up and feel unmotivated, discipline is what gets you out of bed anyway. When you're discouraged and tempted to numb yourself with distractions, discipline is the voice that says, stay with the pain, build through it. Over time, this simple act of choosing what must be done over what you feel like doing becomes a form of quiet, unshakable power. This power does not appear in a dramatic instant. It grows in small, daily acts of self-command. Think of discipline as a sword you sharpen every day. Each time you keep a promise to yourself, finishing the workout, sticking to your study plan, holding your tongue instead of exploding in anger, you're running the whetstone over the blade, refining its edge. When you break those promises, the edge dulls, and you begin to doubt yourself. The samurai trained not only their bodies but their minds to obey a higher purpose than the emotion of the moment. You can do the same by creating standards you refuse to drop below, no matter how you feel. Set your routines, your practices, your non-negotiables, and honor them like a warrior honors his code. Your emotions will scream for comfort and escape, but each time you say, no, we move according to the plan, not the mood, you grow stronger, steadier, more dangerous to your old weaknesses. Discipline over emotion does not mean suppressing your feelings or pretending they don't exist. It means acknowledging them without kneeling to them. A samurai could feel rage when dishonored, but he did not lash out blindly. He stepped back, controlled his breathing, and acted according to principle, not impulse. In the same way, when someone disrespects you, your emotion might demand instant revenge, loud arguments, or petty responses. Discipline pauses and asks, will this reaction serve my growth, my future, my code? Often the most powerful move is restraint. When sadness comes, your emotions might tell you to isolate and give up on everything. Discipline instead guides you to still do the basics. Get up, clean your space, train your body, make progress even if tiny. You become a warrior who can walk through inner chaos while still honoring your outer duty. That is true composure, not the absence of storms, but the ability to keep marching in the rain. In the path of those who never give up, discipline over emotion becomes a shield and a compass. It shields you from self-sabotage when your feelings turn against you and try to drag you back into old patterns. It becomes a compass because when you stop obeying every emotional fluctuation, you can finally move consistently in the direction of your deepest values. The world is full of people who are ruled by their moods, productive only when they feel inspired, kind only when they feel appreciated, focused only when they feel like it. But warriors of the mind operate differently. They show up whether they are inspired or not. They act with honor even when no one is watching. They stay disciplined when it would be easier to surrender to comfort. In time, this separates you from the ordinary. People will wonder how you stay so steady while they crumble at every emotional wave. The answer is simple, but not easy. You chose discipline as your master and emotion as your messenger, not your king. Turning pain into power begins with a brutal truth. Life will hurt you. You will be betrayed, underestimated, ignored, and broken in ways you never saw coming. Most people spend their lives running from that pain, numbing it, blaming others for it, or letting it poison their hearts. But the warriors of old and the warriors of today understand something different. Pain is not only a wound, it is also raw material. Like iron ore torn from the earth, your suffering looks ugly at first, heavy and useless. Yet when it is thrown into the furnace, hammered and shaped, it becomes a blade. In the same way, every humiliation, failure, and heartbreak you survive can either rust your spirit or sharpen it. The choice is yours. Samurai faced loss and death constantly, but instead of allowing fear and grief to paralyze them, they folded those emotions into their training, into their resolve, into their code. You can do the same. Instead of asking, "Why me?" ask, "What can this make of me?" Turning pain into power means refusing to let your suffering be meaningless. When something breaks you, you have two options: stay shattered or rebuild yourself stronger and wiser than before. Pain can teach you where you were unprepared, undisciplined, or naive. It exposes your weaknesses without mercy, but in that exposure lies your opportunity. If you failed and were mocked, use that sting as the reason you study harder, train longer, and return sharper. If you were rejected, use that ache to fuel your self-respect, to raise your standards, to build a life so solid that no one else's absence can collapse it. Samurai knew that scars were not just reminders of injury, but symbols of survival. Each scar meant, "I have met the blade and I am still here." Your emotional scars are the same. They can either make you bitter or make you dangerous to your old fragile self. Let each scar remind you, "I endured this, I can endure more." Pain also has the power to burn away illusions. When life hits you hard, fake friends disappear, shallow goals lose their shine, and your true priorities rise to the surface. This clarity is a gift, even though it arrives wrapped in suffering. In these moments, you see who you really are without comfort to hide behind. Do you crumble and curse everything, or do you stare into the fire and decide to become someone new? Warriors use pain as a mirror. They ask, "What does this reveal about my character, my habits, my beliefs?" If betrayal crushed you, perhaps you placed too much of your worth in someone else's hands. If failure destroyed your confidence, perhaps you built your identity only on results, not on effort and growth. By facing these truths, you reclaim your power. The pain doesn't vanish, but it stops owning you. Instead, it becomes a teacher, harsh but honest, guiding you toward a stronger, more grounded version of yourself. Finally, turning pain into power is about transformation, not denial. This is not about pretending you are fine when you are not, or acting tough while you silently collapse inside. Samurai did not deny death or fear. They accepted them, looked them in the eye, and chose their response. You must allow yourself to feel the weight of your pain, to grieve, to process. But then you must decide what you will build from it. Will you create discipline from your disappointments? Will you create empathy from your heartbreak? Will you create relentless focus from your failures? When you channel your hurt into training, learning, creating and improving, you alchemize suffering into strength. One day you will look back at the moments that almost destroyed you and realize they were the fires that forged you. The same heat that could have melted you into nothing instead hardened you into something unbreakable. That is the true meaning of turning pain into power. Loyalty to your path means swearing allegiance to the person you are becoming, even when the journey is lonely, confusing, or brutally slow. It is easy to stay committed when progress is visible and praise is constant. But the true test of loyalty comes in the quiet seasons, when no one notices your effort, when results seem delayed, and when doubt whispers that you're wasting your time. The samurai understood loyalty as a sacred vow, not just to a lord, but to a code, a way of living that they would not betray, even under pressure. In the same way, your path is your personal Bushido, the vision, values, and mission you've chosen for your life. When distractions tempt you, When comfort calls you back to your old habits, loyalty is the inner voice that says, I remember why I started. I will not abandon this road. You stop flirting with shortcuts and alternate lives, and instead walk forward with a sense of unshakable commitment. This kind of loyalty demands sacrifice. You will have to let go of certain people, habits, and pleasures that do not support your path. Some friends will not understand why you train when they relax, why you study while they waste time, why you protect your energy instead of joining every distraction. They may mock you, pressure you, or slowly drift away. But a warrior does not leave the battlefield because the crowd walks out of the arena. The samurai knew that to serve two masters is to serve none well. Divided loyalty weakens the blade. In your life, that means choosing your purpose over social approval, your long-term vision over short-term comfort. It means saying no again and again to anything that pulls you away from the person you are forging yourself to become. You will feel the sting of isolation at times, but that pain is proof that you are no longer living on autopilot. You have chosen your path consciously, and you stand guard over it. Loyalty to your path also means staying steady when the path changes shape. Plans will fail, strategies will break. What you thought would take months might take years. At times you will pivot, adjust your methods, and correct your course. But there is a difference between changing tactics and abandoning the mission. The samurai adapted to new circumstances, new weapons, new politics. Yet their core code remained. In the same way, you may switch careers, shift environments, or evolve your approach, but your deeper commitment to growth, mastery, strength, honor stays intact. When setbacks strike, disloyalty shows up as, maybe I'm not meant for this, maybe I should quit entirely. Loyalty responds with, this is harder than I expected. I must grow stronger, smarter, more patient. You bend so you don't break. You adjust so you don't abandon. The path is not a straight line, but your devotion to walking it cannot be negotiable. Ultimately, loyalty to your path becomes a form of self-respect. It is you proving to yourself that your word means something, that your dreams are not just fantasies you entertain when inspired, but vows you are willing to suffer for. The samurai's honor was their life. To break their word was worse than defeat. When you say, I will transform, and then continually act in alignment with that statement, you rebuild trust with yourself. Every time you keep going when it would be easier to quit, you carve a deeper groove of integrity into your character. Over time, others will sense this in you, a quiet certainty, a steadiness, a refusal to be easily swayed. But the real reward is internal. You will look in the mirror and see someone who did not betray their own potential. Someone who stayed loyal to their path even when no one else believed. That is the kind of loyalty that turns an ordinary life into a warrior's journey. Rising after every defeat is the essence of an unbreakable spirit. It is the moment after the fall when the dust still clings to your skin and your pride aches more than your wounds that your true character is revealed. Anyone can feel strong when they are winning, but defeat strips away illusions and exposes who you really are. The samurai stood face to face with loss, humiliation, and failure, yet their greatness was not defined by flawless victory, but by relentless return. Every time life cuts you down, through rejection, betrayal, financial collapse, broken dreams, you are given a question. Will you stay on the ground, or will you rise again, wiser and more dangerous than before? Rising after defeat does not mean you feel no pain. It means you refuse to let that pain be your final chapter. You inhale the bitterness, you taste it fully, and then you stand one more time. To rise after defeat, you must first accept the reality of what happened without excuses or denial. Many people stay down because they cling to blame, blaming others, the world, bad luck. Samurai examined their failures like a blade master inspects a broken sword, searching for the flaw in the steel or the technique. Was it lack of preparation, ego, distraction, arrogance? When you face your defeat honestly, you turn it from a sentence into a lesson. This is not self-hatred. It is self-honesty. If you failed an exam, lost a job, or saw a relationship crumble, you can either call yourself cursed, or you can analyze where your discipline slipped, where your judgment was clouded, where your standards were too low. This rigorous reflection is painful, but it is the blueprint for your comeback. Each insight you gain from defeat becomes armor, making it harder for the same wound to strike you twice. Rising after every defeat also requires the courage to begin again from zero. This is where most people surrender. They cannot bear to be a beginner once more. They want to skip the rebuilding, the awkwardness, the slow climb. But warriors understand that starting again is not a step backward. It is a higher level of the same path. You carry experience now, scars that speak of battles survived. When a samurai lost a duel or failed a mission, he did not throw away his sword and declare himself unworthy forever. He returned to training, to fundamentals, to drilling the basics with more humility than before. In your life, this might mean going back to studying after failing, returning to the gym after months of inconsistency, opening your heart again after heartbreak, or rebuilding your finances from the ground up. You do it quietly, patiently, resisting the urge to rush. Each small step forward after defeat is an act of defiance against the part of you that wanted to stay broken. In time, this pattern of rising becomes your identity. You stop seeing yourself as someone who either wins or loses, and instead as someone who cannot be kept down. People around you might pity your setbacks or doubt your chances, but they will also sense something unsettling and powerful. You keep coming back. The samurai lived with the awareness of Mujo, the impermanence of all things. Victories fade, defeats fade, but the spirit that rises after both remains. When you embrace this, defeat no longer terrifies you the way it once did. You understand that falling is part of the journey, not the end of it. Every time you rise, you become less fragile, less dependent on constant success to feel worthy. You respect yourself, not because you never fail, but because you never stay fallen. That is the quiet, unstoppable strength of those who rise after every defeat. A spirit that, no matter how many times it is cut down, finds its way back to its feet, eyes forward, ready for the next battle. In the end, remember this: you were never meant to live as dull iron, hiding from the flame. You were born to be forged, through struggle, repetition, and the courage to stand back up when everything in you screams to stay down. The samurai lived and died by their code, but you are still writing yours with every choice you make. After pain, after failure, after doubt, your Hagane no Ishi, your will of steel, is not some distant dream. It is being shaped right now in how you respond to this very moment. If this message awakens something inside you, comment, "I will rise" below, subscribe, and stay with this community of warriors who refuse to surrender to weakness. Thank you for giving your time, your focus, and your spirit to this journey. You are not alone in this dojo. We are all being tested, all being forged. Carry these pillars with you. Repeat them when your strength fades, and choose, again and again, to never give up on the person you are becoming. The fire is waiting. The path is in front of you. Now, walk it like a warrior.